Hi folks, so I'm just going to try and do this video just to really have some thoughts about the shift that we've just gone through with the 21st of December and whether or not anybody thinks it's affected them. I personally think it has affected us quite substantially. I think that this whole guns in America business has actually stirred up an awful lot of duality on the planet. And I wonder if we were to look around the planet to see how many other governments had actually done something to deliberately provoke their own population, into, really reacting. I think it's definitely affected me. I think that the duality that's been stirred up there has definitely sort of made me think something. It's provoked a reaction within me, which I wouldn't normally do. I normally sort of think, when I was politically more active many years ago, not that I ever went on not that I was really a political activist, but I used to get a lot more hot and bothered about things years ago. And then I kind of thought, well, actually this is just winding me up. I don't really tend to get on my hobby horse about stuff, but it's kind of sucked me in. Well, it did suck me in. I've kind of wised up now and thought, whoa, hang on a minute here. The duality can suck you in big time. I personally am not convinced of the idea that everybody going out and buying more guns because they've been provoked into we're going to take your guns away from you is just a good way to go. But what I've moved into now is the feeling that that's what people want to do, that's what they want to do, but that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to say is that as we've gone through the 21st of December, do we think anything's different? Well, I think it is. I think that as we're applying up to that point, because it wouldn't just happen not actually on that point in time, the consciousness would sort of build up and then get quite acute as it got quite towards it, I believe. Like in the way that when you have an astrological alignment, it's what's called applying. As it gets closer and closer to, it sort of starts to build up towards the effect. And for me, I know that this sort of feeling that I've had kind of probably applied about a week or so before. Anyway, so does any of you feel any different? Do I feel any different? Well, I think I do, actually. I think you've got to be careful that you can't get sucked into things. It's really been one of those situations where you get sucked into something and probably not react in the same way as you would do normally. But that can actually bring back a negative reaction, and that's what you've got to be careful of. I've had quite a learning curve, actually, I would say, about this whole thing. The minute you start sort of sucking into duality, and it can catch you unawares, you can just think about something, and the next minute you know, you've got right behind it. I did a video about this ages ago now, about how you can get sucked into politics I got sucked into David Cameron. Well, thinking about, how he was running the government and what have you. It can suck you in. Before you know where you are, you're kind of in a situation whereby you're sort of in duality. And then you open yourself up to lots and lots of negativity. The minute you put yourself into a situation where you say, hang on a minute, I'm going to stand up against that, you're in a situation of duality. Well, then you've got to think to yourself, okay, and then people will say, well, if you don't stick up for anything in the world, you're just being selfish, you're only thinking of yourself. You're not looking after other people. Aha, this is the key, I believe. You see, the thing is, where does right stop and wrong start? Because there's always two sides to every argument. I've heard lots of people, loads of good people, that really believe that arming themselves back against the American government is the real good, positive way to be. But I think, personally, it's the real not good way to be. And it's not that those people are better than me or worse than me. But the minute that they start to sort of think, well, you're weak, or I start to think, well, you're ridiculous for thinking along those lines, you're setting up their negative judgments, aren't you? You're judging. It's not the way to go about this. But anyway, the point is, just be aware that you're not being sucked in. It will come straight back at you. The minute you start to get sucked into duality and start to think, because where the duality starts, that's where you start thinking negatively towards other people's viewpoints. And it's just a thin end of the wedge. So you would say, okay, well, what if you're not going to do anything about injustice in the world? Well, I believe what we've got to do is, you know, try and actually set an example. Do what we can, by all means, but do it in an all-encompassing way, rather than a negative way. And I'm just thinking about, okay, supposing there was a whole load of children in Ethiopia or somewhere who were being, it's recording, I think it is, who were being, you know, starved by a militia, who were getting loads of gun money, guns again, you know, spending it on guns and not food for the children. Well, you could say, how could you not be against that, gun militia? Well, what you would have to do is kind of just concentrate on doing more in a positive capacity that you could do. That you, if you felt drawn to it, rather than really focusing on the negative aspect. It just doesn't resolve anything. It brings down your own vibration quite substantially, actually. It really does. It's very lowering of your energy. And there's enough low energy on the planet already, but it doesn't need any more. We need more sort of positive examples and upward liftment. So that's what I think, really, folks. I hope you've had a great holiday. And yes, thanks for watching. Okay, I'll put my glasses on to stop this video. Thanks then, bye. Hi folks, I've just watched the other bit of the video, the first bit of the video, and I've realised that I forgot to say what 2012 and going through that date has got to do with the, you know, with the sucking into duality. And I think the point is that as we've sort of gone through this point in time, which whether you believe it or not, something must have happened, just because of the fact that all of the indicators and the dates were there, and the time wave 0, and everybody just thinking about the dates, something must have happened. I think that how it sucked us in is that since we've gone through this, I think it's a lot easier to suddenly see things better, or clearer, in more perspective. And I think the minute you start to see things that you haven't seen before, then that's when you can sort of think, oh, crikey, is that going on? Right then, well. And I think that's where, you know, you can come unstuck. That's what's, I think, kicking everybody off into reacting probably the way that they have done. So just be aware that that's really what it is. If you find yourself suddenly seeing a situation a lot clearer, then before you start sort of reacting in the same old way that you always have done, stop and think, actually, could I better serve this by just thinking instead, rather than getting all hot and bothered about someone else and trying to about them, could I do something positive instead? You know, I mean, like I said, I used to be quite politically active in a way when I was younger, but then I just thought, right, I'm going to start an environmental business. So that's the same sort of thing. By promoting something positive, it's far more healthy, I think, to yourself and to the planet than getting, you know, wedged into buying into a very negative sort of response. Because the minute you start to do that, you're in an us and them situation, digging yourself in deeper. So focus on the positive wherever you can, and that's the extra bit I wanted to say. All right, thanks then, bye. Hi folks, well, this is another thing I thought, because I was listening to the second bit and now I've thought there's another thing, and I will keep it brief. I think that what could have happened here, as I'm saying, we're seeing things more clearly, as in seeing things around us in the world, situations, but I think probably that's to do with vision, isn't it? That's to do with mental clarity of looking at things. Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at the camera then. But also, is it to do with the fact that we're actually seeing things with our eyes differently? And I say that because I actually saw an orb in the kitchen, which I've never seen before in my life. I just saw it move quite quickly across the room. And, you know, is that why we're seeing a lot more stuff in the sky? Seeing more UFOs? You know, it could be generally affecting our vision. If an eye is a vortex, and if a singularity is a vortex, I don't know if a singularity is a vortex as the sort of end of the calendar's come and it's closed down. I don't know, because I'm no scientist. I don't know if it's to do with frequencies or whatever. But yeah, vision of our eyes possibly as well, and vision of our mental clarity. So yes, that's it. I'm not going to add any more to this video, hopefully. Thanks then, bye. I've learned to see now where to stop without putting my glasses on, you see, vision's improved.